The message from my mother arrived at 11:27 p.m. A single flash on the night-dimmed screen that lit the apartment like a match and then left it darker than before. We changed all the locks, it read. You don't have a home anymore. Let's see how brave you are now. I didn't breathe at first. I just watched the blue-white rectangle cool on my palm and felt my thumb hover over the glass like the phone might burn if I touched it again. I read it once for the shock, twice for the shape of the words, a third time so the meaning could etch itself in and stop moving. The sentence felt like a door slamming somewhere I couldn't see. Tears would have made sense. Anger too. Fear would have been predictable. What settled in instead was a thin, steady clarity that felt almost technical. I didn't type. I didn't call. I let the message sit as evidence. And I smiled, not because any of this was funny, but because home was never a key ring and it wasn't theirs to take. Whatever they thought they were starting with that text would end in paperwork and signatures, not in begging at a locked door. If you've been used by the people who were supposed to protect you, you already know the taste of a betrayal like this. Mine just came with account numbers, timestamps, and a paper trail. This wasn't revenge for its own sake. This was justice delivered with petitions and exhibits. My name is Jessica Chen. I'm 28, built for numbers and patterns, the kind of person who remembers where every cent went and what the memo line said. I grew up in a narrow-lawn Portland neighborhood, in a 2-story colonial with white shutters and a maple tree that turned the yard into a loose red carpet every October. From the sidewalk we were the picture of order. Inside, order was a performance, mom on script, dad on direction, and I was the quiet stagehand keeping the props where they were supposed to be. The work started easy to explain. At 14, Dad's voice shifted from suggestion to command. Jessica, grab the ladder, we're fixing the gutters. Jessica, come hold the flashlight. The errands weren't errands anymore. They were shifts. Saturdays turned into projects that bled into Sundays. While other girls tried on eyeliner for the first time, I learned how to seat a miter saw square and how to climb onto a roof without telegraphing fear. My hands were crosshatched with small cuts from screwdrivers that slipped and from carrying lumber that should have been a 2-person lift. My back ached in a way I didn't have the words for yet. When I winced, Dad laughed and said I was tougher than any son he could have asked for. Then must my hair like that erase the imbalance? Mom's refrain was tidy and final. Family helps family. Jessica's handy. Amanda's delicate. Delicate in our house meant preferred. It meant sheltered, chosen, decorated. Amanda is my younger sister. The orchid in the bright window. I was the root packed into the pot. Bracing the stem and pretending dirt didn't count as part of the plant. I believed their story. I wanted to. I told myself that sanding fences at dawn and scraping paint from sash windows was love disguised as discipline. By 17 they didn't have to push. Saying no to a work request felt like being cruel. Money slid in after that the way a new habit slides in, so slowly you don't name it until it owns you. Things are tight right now, Mom would sigh, could you help with the electric bill? The first time it sounded like passing the salt at dinner. Then came the mortgage, just for this month, then another month, then an unexpected expense, then the exact same expense again, unexpected in the same way every time. I learned to feel proud of fixing holes I didn't make. By 21, the pattern was fluorescent. They weren't accepting help. They were relying on it. I was the invisible income stream that kept the family image polished while every spare cent found a quiet path to Amanda's future. When I asked about a modest vacation or a small luxury, the answer was a gentle lecture about priorities. Meanwhile, Amanda got a brand new car at 16, tuition for a private college paid in full, and an all-expenses-paid Italy trip to study art under Tuscan light. I worked 12-hour days closing customer ledgers and ate instant noodles at my desk between reconciliations. I told myself I was the strong one, the responsible one. Dependable felt like love because they said it was. A year ago, hairline cracks appeared. Conversations stopped when I walked in. Family planning the future talks never included my name. My gut kept tugging at my sleeve. I couldn't prove anything until a cold night in March. I came home late from the accounting firm, shoulders tight from tax season, and heard voices in the kitchen. I would have walked upstairs, but I heard my name and clipped to the wall just out of sight. The deed is in our names only, Mom said low. Jessica doesn't realize all her help was voluntary. She won't get anything when we sell. She's never asked for paperwork, Dad said. A chuckle folded into the words. Classic Jessica. All heart, no business sense. But won't she expect something? Amanda asked, careful. Expect what? Mom said, sharper now. She gave gifts. Gifts don't buy ownership. I gripped the drywall until my knuckles went white. They were planning to sell the house I had painted, maintained, and funded, and leave me with nothing. I didn't cry. I didn't storm in. I walked to my room, opened my laptop, and started a quiet second life. For the next 6 months I lived as two versions of myself. Daytime me, mild-mannered accountant with clean spreadsheets and patient emails. Nighttime me, document hunter. Dad's arrogance became my silent ally. His records were sloppy. He sent quick transfers from my account to his with notes like help or temporary. I exported statements, reconciled them line by line, and cataloged everything. $47,000, documented, toward mortgage payments. $23,000 in renovation supplies, receipts for paint, shingles, decking screws, replacement fixtures, concrete mix, drainage pipe. $15,000 in utilities paid during their claimed financial emergencies. $85,000 total, all neatly traceable to me. Then there was the part no one invoices, 13 years of unpaid labor. Scraping, painting, replacing, climbing, hauling, fixing clogged French drains, rehanging doors that wouldn't catch, crawling under the house to adjust sagging duct straps. The kind of labor any contractor would have billed tens of thousands for because time is money and roofs don't forgive mistakes. I built spreadsheets with tabs for every category, cross-linked for audit trails with memos and images where I had them. When the mountain felt high and solid, I met with 3 attorneys in quiet offices and asked a simple question. Do I have a claim? The answer from all 3 was yes. My name might not be on the deed, but equity isn't only ink. It's proof. It's contributions. It's reliance and inducement and unjust enrichment and every other boring, beautiful term that means the same thing. You don't get to take and pretend you didn't. So I waited for the moment that would make intent plain. It arrived in September late at night when they thought cruelty would scare me back into place. We changed all the locks, you don't have a home anymore. And a smug little haha to sign it. I slept better than I had in months. At 7 o'clock the next morning, I walked into the office with a coffee and called my attorney. He picked up on the second ring. File the petition, I said. He didn't need more. We had the exhibits tabbed. 2 days later my parents' attorney rang my phone with panic. He tried to iron flat. Miss Chun, we have a serious problem here. We need to discuss this immediately. Of course they did. Control only works when the target doesn't know how the hinges are attached. I let the call sit. They could learn to sweat. The confrontation took place a week later in a downtown mediation room that smelled faintly like dry carpet and whiteboard cleaner. Fluorescent lights made everything honest. A long table. My legal team on one side. Theirs on the other. They walked in first. Dad red-faced and blustering. Mom draped in brittle superiority. Amanda looking rattled and younger than she is. For the first time in months we shared air. I felt no heat at all. No anger, no grief, no leftover loyalty. Just a clean hallway inside my head and the sound of my own breath. I placed a thick manila folder at the center and nudged it forward. What's this, Dad said, voice heavy with the old authority he thought would still work. My attorney opened the folder like a gate. Documentation of my client's financial contributions to the property, he said, plus evidence of labor and materials over a 14-year period. Inside, everything we'd gathered. Copies of bank statements, receipts for materials and contractors, screenshots of transfers, email requests for money during supposed crises. Bank transfers totaling $47,000 to the mortgage across specific dates. Receipts for $23,000 in home improvements, from roofing shingles to a new sump pump. Utility payments that kept the lights on and the water hot when they claimed they were strapped. Invoices for work I funded when they couldn't afford necessary repairs. And the most damning pieces, the string of texts and emails where they asked for help and promised it was temporary, that they'd make it up to me when things improved. Added to that, the subpoenaed bank statements showing comfortable savings and a tidy investment portfolio during the same periods. I watched Dad's smirk collapse one page at a time. Mom tried to interrupt in short, sharp bursts, but breath kept failing her when the totals lined up. Amanda's eyes moved between the papers and their faces, and then her expression shifted into the first honest thing I'd seen from her in years: comprehension. She wasn't just the beloved daughter. She was the intended beneficiary of a plan that treated her sister like a tap. This is ridiculous, Dad said at last. Those were gifts. Family helping family. Jessica never asked for anything formal. The documents show a pattern of solicited contributions, my attorney said, measured. They were taken under the representation of temporary hardship. There is evidence that you concealed your true financial position while accepting them. and the text telling her she no longer had a home demonstrates malicious intent to deprive her of the benefits of her contributions. The silence that followed pressed on the room until the lights sounded louder. Mom reached for an old tone. "Jessica, honey. This is a misunderstanding. We never meant. You never meant for me to document everything," I said the first time I looked directly at her. "You never meant for me to learn the property code. You never meant for me to realize I've been subsidizing your lifestyle for years while you saved for Amanda." Dad's face went the color of a warning sign. "After everything we did for you, raising you, housing you, feeding you. After taking $85,000 of my money under false pretenses," I said level. "After planning to sell the house I maintained and give me nothing." My attorney laid out the demand like placing a straightedge on a table. "My client is not merely seeking repayment," he said. "She is seeking her rightful ownership stake in the property, based on documented contributions and labor. We are requesting a 50% interest." Then the eruption. Dad shouted about ungrateful children and legal extortion. Mom cried about family loyalty and how I was destroying everything that mattered. Amanda stared down and did math on her inheritance in real time. I sat with my hands folded and let the noise pass like weather. I had prepared for this exact storm for months. Their old tools, guilt, chaos, urgency slid right off the surface. 6 weeks later, a judge signed the order. I stood outside the courthouse with the documents in my hand, legal ownership of 50% of the house. Not by grace, and not because they suddenly grew generous, but because the record told the truth and the law listened. Years of contributions, labor, and reliance converted into an interest no lock could shut out. I didn't move back. That house carried too many rehearsals of the same old scene. And besides, they had changed the locks and announced it with pride. As a 50% owner, I filed to petition and force a sale. We weren't going to share space and we couldn't agree on use. Liquidation was the answer that doesn't lie. The market did the rest. The house sold for $680,000, more than they expected, helped by the very improvements I had paid for. My half came to $340,000 before fees and taxes. Their plan had been simple. Pocket the entire $680,000 by smaller, invest the rest, and sink into an easy retirement. Instead, they left with roughly half $340,000 before their own fees and taxes, enough for a modest condo in a neighborhood they used to side-eye. A lifetime of entitlement met a closing statement and lost. With my share, I bought a quiet townhouse across town. It's smaller than the family house and perfect. The keys feel different when the only name on every bill is your own. The first night I slept there, I woke before dawn to the kind of silence that doesn't require permission. Since then, my father sends the occasional email dipped in guilt. "After everything we sacrifice for you, this is how you repay us." My mother leaves voicemails layered with practiced remorse. "Family is supposed to forgive. You'll regret this when we're gone." Amanda tries to mediate, says she didn't know, suggests therapy. But she sat at that kitchen table and asked what I would expect when they sold. She knew enough. I blocked their numbers and filtered their emails and kept my calendar full of other things. They thought the changed locks would remove my security and shrink my future. What they actually did was hand me the last piece of proof I needed to claim what was mine. They tried to make me homeless. Instead, they lost their home and half of their retirement plan. Some evenings I sit in my living room with coffee and watch the light shift along the floorboards I chose. The locks here matter because I bought them. The sale closed and half the proceeds carry my name in an account that doesn't leak. That old text, the one that was meant to break me, lives in a folder marked exhibit and reminds me that arrogance leaves fingerprints. People who hurt you the most are often the ones convinced they know your edges and your endurance. They expect you to be who they trained you to be, compliant, giving, easy to steer. But people learn. We collect receipts. We compare statements. We ask better questions. And sometimes we fight back with ledgers and petitions, and a judge's signature that changes the angle of the rest of your life. The weight I lost wasn't the house. It was the job of holding up a family that never once offered to hold me back. I think about the small things that built the case long before I knew I was building one. Dawn ladders, a dead water heater, summers of scrape sand prime, and the habit of saving every receipt because numbers calm me. Every boring step became proof later. Yes, the spreadsheet had tabs. Mortgage, utilities, materials, contractors, transfers, and a summary line that read like a verdict. $47,000 to mortgage, $23,000 to materials, $15,000 to utilities. Total, $85,000. I logged 13 years of labor in plain language because time counts even when no one clocks it. Mediation looked like a meeting and felt like a mirror. Their stories bent as the documents stayed straight. When asked what would make me whole, I said recognition of my ownership. 50%. The judge's order was short and exact. Partition taught me how sales happen when tape measures can't divide a house. Closing day was just initials, wires, and the final number, 680,000, landing like a fact. I moved money with labels and intention and bought the townhouse with the kind of morning light that feels like a kept promise. I don't miss the performance of family. I missed the maple in October, so I planted one by my new steps. And when guilt taps the glass, I open the folder marked exhibit and follow the line: petition, mediation, order, listing, closing, wire, keys, a door that opens because I chose the lock and carry the key.